So in this video, I'll be telling you how do you decide resistor values and also how do you tell apart good and bad circuit designs. So to start with, here's a quick recap of what we discussed in the previous video. And what you need to know here is that we started with a small signal that comes in from the guitar or possibly through a buffer. And this is a coupling capacitor that prevents any DC from going into the circuit before this. That's either the guitar or the buffer. And then we add a DC bias that shifts the signal's DC level to a certain voltage. And then we collect the output from the collector terminal here. The output at the collector is also shifted up by a certain DC level. And this DC level is not the same as the DC level that we shifted at the base because of R1 and R2. This is decided by this equation, which is Vout equals VCC minus ICRC. And you don't need to worry about this for now because we'll be looking at this in detail in a moment. And in general, even if you don't get this idea, there's no problem because what you really need to know is just how do you decide the best values for all these four resistors, and you're good to create circuits by yourself. So by deciding these four resistor values, what are we trying to do exactly? What we are basically trying to ensure is that the output, so what we have here is basically a zoomed in version of this portion. So as we saw that the output is shifted by a certain DC level, we want to ensure that this DC level is almost half of our supply voltage. And why is that? That's because this gives the signal a lot of space to oscillate irrespective of its amplification. So maybe let's have a look at a bad design so that we can understand how is this a good design. So for example, if we didn't have the DC level to be 4.5 volts, if we decided the resistor values in such a way that we ended up having a DC value of 2 volts, what happens is when the signal is in the upper half, all goes fine, but the moment it reaches the negative half, it does not have the space to go below 0 volts. This is because the transistor is operating in about a DC point, and you can't have a voltage that goes below 0 at this point. At the same, in the very same, with the very same logic, you can't have something like this as well. You can't have, if this is 9 volts, you can't have a signal at 8 volts and then expect this signal to go above 8 volts. It will be clipped off right here. And at least as a beginner, you don't want to say something like, in my circuit, some of the distortion is caused by the transistor and the remaining distortion is because of the diodes. You always want to make sure that the output of the transistor is clean and the distortion primarily is because of the diodes. Okay, so now that we know what's a good design and what's a bad design, let me also tell you that if you want to find out what's the DC level of the circuit to find out whether the circuit is a good circuit or not, we can simply put in the values of VCC minus ICRC, and the voltage that we get is the DC level of the output. And once again, as I told before, you don't need to worry about this because we will be looking into this in detail. Finally, let's come to the main purpose of this video, and that is a technique by which we can determine R1, R2, RC and RE so that we have the output voltage, the output DC voltage to be shifted at exactly half of the supply voltage, so that we have a lot of space for the output signal to oscillate without getting clipped. So it's a 5-step process, and we'll be discussing each step in detail one by one. And let's start with the first one. So the first step says that we have to decide IC and the corresponding beta DC from the data sheet. So for this circuit, I chose my transistor to be 2N3904, and from its data sheet, if you just Google up, you will find a section that will either be titled HFE or DC current gain. And for this transistor, it turns out that at a collector current of 10 milliampere, we have a value of beta DC that's either that's somewhere between 100 to 300. And this varies from transistor to transistor. And for this circuit design, I'm going to assume that the beta value stays at 100 and the IC, the collector current, is 10 milliamperes. Okay. Now, let's have a look at step 2. Step 2 says, let's decide that the emitter voltage is 1% of the supply voltage. What this basically means is that in this circuit right here, if our supply voltage is 9 volts, we have to assume that this voltage right here at this point is going to be 1% of the supply voltage, which is 0.9 volts. So now that we have decided that the emitter voltage will be 0.9 volts, we can find the value of Re. And the way to find Re is using Ohm's law. If we know the current through this, and we also know the voltage that's across this resistor, which happens to be 0.9 volts, so we can find out Re simply by dividing the voltage by the current. But do we know IE? It turns out that there's a very important equation, that is, the emitter current is equal to the base current plus the collector current. But in our case, IB is very small and we can almost neglect this. So we can say that IE is almost equal to IC, which is 10 milliampere as we decided. So having said that, we know that the emitter voltage is 0.9 and the collector or the emitter current is 10 milliampere, which means we have 1000 on the top, and that gives us 90 ohms. And we don't have a 90 ohm resistor, so we can simply approximate this to maybe 100 ohms. And having said all of this, we know that our emitter resistance should be 100 ohms. Okay, so we have decided one resistor. Now we have to decide RC, and the way to do that is again given in the 5 steps. The third step is that we have to find RC, which is simply 4 times of RE. Since we know that RE is 100 ohms, RC is simply going to be 4 times of RE, which happens to be 400 ohms. And once again, let me write this here. We also have the value of RC now, 400 ohms. We are halfway through, and all we need to do is decide the values of R2 and R1. Now, okay, here's the sheet. So now the way to calculate R2 is we multiply 0.1 into beta DC into RE, which basically is 0.1 into 100 into 100, because we chose the beta value to be 100, although it had a range from 100 to 300. We have to make a guess, and RE was 100 ohms, as we found out, and 1 kilo ohm is a standard value that we can find, so we don't need to modify it in any way. So now we also have the value of R2, and that is 1 kilo ohm. Now the only thing that's left is R1, and to find R1 we have to find out V1 by V2 into R2. So what's V1 and what's V2? So in our circuit, V1 basically means the voltage across R1 and V2 is the voltage across R2. Okay, so a good idea would be to find V2 first. So to find out V2, we have to find out the voltage between these 2 points, which is this point and ground, and that will give us V2. Or in a nutshell, we can also say it's the voltage drop across this diode plus voltage drop across this resistor using Kirchhoff's voltage law, and that basically means that it's basically VE plus VBE, and VBE is just the voltage drop across the diode. And if you're using a silicon transistor, which is something like either it's 2N3904 or BC547, the diode voltage drop across the base emitter junction is always 0.7 volts. So if you have 5 volts here, you will have 5 volts minus 0.7 volts here, which is 4.3. So it's basically an other way around. If you know the voltage here, you have to just add 0.7 volts to get the voltage here. So basically for any silicon transistor, VBE is 0.7. So VE is 0.9 volts and VBE is 0.7 volts, and this gives us 1.6 volts. We know V2. And also, just in case, here's a transistor, here's a 2N3904. I'm going to set the multimeter to the diode mode, and if I measure the forward voltage of this diode, it comes out to be 0.7 volts. If I put the multimeter across the base emitter junction, which is here and here, there we have 0.7 volts as the forward voltage of this diode. And if you're using a germanium transistor, this 0.7 volts becomes 0.3. So you'll have 0.9 plus 0.3 for a germanium diode. That's the difference. And now we have to find out the value of V1. What's V1? So if we know V2 is equal to 1.6 volts, V1 will simply be VCC minus V2, which means 9 volts minus 1.6, and I hope I'm doing everything correct. It's 7.4 volts. So now we have V1, we have V2, and now we can calculate R1 simply by doing V1 by V2. which is 1.6 into R2. The value of R2 was, where's the sheet? Hang on. The value of R2 was 1 kilo ohm. So we multiply this by 1 kilo ohm, that is 1000, and this should give us 7.4 by 1.6 should give, I think, 4.625, and we multiply this by 1000, it's 1 kilo ohm. That gives us basically 4.6k ohms. And that is super cool because now we have all the values we need. And let me make an entry in my sheet. We have 4.6k here. So now we have the values of all the resistors in this circuit. And for capacitors, I usually like to use 1 microfarad everywhere except at the input, which is usually a bigger value so that we can allow more signal to flow in. And we have a very well biased circuit that will have the center voltage of the output somewhere around 4.5. And we can also check this. As I told you earlier, the way to find this out is V out will be equal to VCC minus ICRC. We want this to be very close to 4.5 volts, and it turns out that it is actually 9 volts VCC minus IC is 10 milliamperes, and RC in our case is 400. When you multiply this, we get 9 minus 4 volts, and it's 5 volts. So in our case, this turns out to be 5 volts, which is okay. It's quite close to 4.5, and this is because we initially made the assumption of, not the assumption, the approximation of 90 to 100 for RE, and then this carried on to this calculation and on, which made a difference of 0.5 volts. But it's fine. And I'm sure if you're a beginner, I may have confused you in this part. And once again, I just want to tell you that to calculate V2, all you have to do is add 0.7 to whatever value of VE we had decided in the beginning. So that's all I wanted to cover for this video. And if you like watching such videos, do subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching.